Got two. Everybody get a, yeah, I think we all got one.
I've got more if you need one.
Okay.
We got two.
I'd like to call the Saline City Council meeting to order. If you please rise and join my colleagues and I for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Members present this evening are council members Del Orco, Dillon, Gearbaugh, Halsch, Harmount, Mayor Pro Tem Rice, and Mayor Marl. From city staff, we have the city manager Swallow, clerk Royal, engineer Humphreys is with us, along with IT director Shank, treasurer Finch, wastewater treatment superintendent Briggs. Am I missing anyone from staff and legal counsel? We have a motion. Actually, I'll entertain a motion now to approve the agenda as submitted unless there are amendments.
So moved as submitted.
Moved by Gearbaugh to approve as submitted. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Del Orco. All those in favor of approving the agenda as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. There are no absences this evening. Before we get to public comments on agenda items, I should have noted at the top of the hour here that there are copies of our agenda on the back table, along with a sign-in sheet and listening devices if you require them. We come to the first of two public comment periods at tonight's meeting. Under the Open Meetings Act, any person may come forward and make a comment to City Council. This public comment period will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Those wishing to speak are requested but not required to state their name and address for the record. Please note that City Council will not be answering questions during this initial public comment period. Are there any citizen comments this evening? And you are welcome to speak about any issue that is on your mind, a limit of 3 minutes. Please, Tyler.
Good evening, Council. My name is Tyler Kinley, 441 South Ashley Street, 206, Ann Arbor, Michigan. I speak to you today as the developer for the Murphy's Crossing and Uphouse Square project. Earlier today, I sent an informational email trying to give updates to keep everyone just informed of where we're at. I know that it has taken a long time to get where we are, over 2 years. We have made a lot of progress, and last week, I'm sure everyone saw, Governor Whitmer announced that we did achieve our funding. So that's been the major milestone on our end, but I do want to make sure you're fully informed with where we're at on all parts of it. So I provided that email earlier, and I look forward to working with Dan and trying to keep everybody abreast of all the progress we're making. And I strongly urge anybody to reach out with any questions or concerns as we move ahead. Again, we want to keep everybody informed. I know that it's taken a bit and that there's been a bit of information lag at times. So I want to address that, head on and make sure everyone's comfortable with moving forward. So appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kinley, and appreciate your tenacity and leadership on this important issue. I did have a chance to review your message earlier, very thorough, and I'm sure my council colleagues will avail themselves. If they do have questions or would like to speak more, they'll reach out to you directly. Are there additional citizen comments this evening? Again, you'll be limited to 3 minutes.
Mr. Mayor, council, friends, my name is Changming Fan. Before I begin, I'd like to thank you very much for the city council members and mayor. When I was in the hospital, I received a warm letter and helped me to get back and come back. Now I'm here because of your encouragement. I like to address one of the important things in the history of Saline, and that is Saline River Dam. Actually, that is the problem of mill pond. Whether we keep the mill pond as it is or not. So I think that the majority of the citizens, especially residents, prefer to keep as it is. However, the other side also make a lot of sense. I'm here do not want to say who's right, who's wrong, but I want to invite you to go deeper. The problem, whether keep or not, is whether we are going to create a new history. This debate is not just a matter of keep the mill pond. Actually, it is how we as Americans, as the leaders, as the owners of the future, what we can do. I strongly believe that we should open a new route, take advantage of this opportunity, God-given, nature-given, Saline River Valley. So we should really consider, as last twice before I got a stroke, I mentioned that we create a new project. This project, I can say, use 2C, contract and community. I also mentioned that we should really rely on the volunteerism a lot. You're all the best volunteers. That's why you're here. And you asked the good question, give the good answers. But this challenge question about Mill Pond is not the simple question of the project. Is that we as Americans, can we work together to create a new history? As I said, machine contracted and people using our muscles, like the Chinese, like the Amish people, raising bars together. So I suggest that to open another tunnel on the other side. That's more detail another time. That not just open 3 parks, but also open up our heart. We have to accomplish the goal, make Saline a beautiful city, the important destination, not just the victim of the past history. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fan, and we welcome you to share additional comments at the end of the meeting if you're so inclined. Are there additional citizen comments from those in the audience this evening? Let me defer to the city clerk. Were there any written comments provided in advance of tonight's meeting in which the individual wanted their remarks read at this time? Easy enough. Then we will transition to the one and only presentation per council directive. We are going to receive an update from the Davenport-Curtiss House Working Group, and I would invite the Working Group Chair, Rebecca Schneider, forward. I would also note for the record that we have members Sue Couch, Brett Pollington, and actually council members Gearbon Delorco. You have a working majority here tonight. We welcome a brief update. If there are other members of the committee who would like to share some thoughts, we would encourage that, and then we'll do a quick round of questions. As I noted in an email to City Council last week, there will be a much more comprehensive and detailed report given in August per council directive, and then annual reports provided in the first quarter of both 2027 and 2028 prior to developing consensus on this issue in February of 2029. Please begin. We welcome you here tonight. Thank you for taking the time to join us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. To provide perspective on the work group, we've met 4 times. So while I do have a list of things that we have accomplished, please keep in mind we've met 4 times. So the work group started with a lot of administrative tasks, which always take longer than you imagine they would. But right now, we all have city email addresses. There's a SharePoint drive that has our documents. We've adopted bylaws, and we've established a regular meeting schedule. More importantly, we've engaged with Dr. Diana Wong at Eastern Michigan University, who has set forth a strategic plan for our work group so that we can clearly and completely accomplish the work that you have prescribed our work group to conduct. The first step of Dr. Wong's process will start at our meeting on Wednesday this week, where she will give us a strategic planning process review so that we can kind of achieve a shared understanding of what this really means. Other elements of her process include an environmental scan of similar properties throughout the state so we can learn what works and what doesn't work. We will also have a planning retreat based on the knowledge that we gathered from that, and there will be at least 24 focus groups conducted, as well as surveys to engage the community. We want to make sure that the focus groups are accessible so that we at different times of day, they will engage different stakeholders. It's important that we hear from the people of Saline about what they want to do with the house that they bought. In addition, we've handled some property management issues such as access and security. We've assembled an inspection checklist so that when people are at the house, they can check on how things are going around the house. There's nobody in there regularly at this point, so we need to keep track of how things are going. We've ordered signage, supplies. We've also thought about, hey, we have a bathroom here that needs cleaning, and we've taken care of that too. Our city liaisons have engaged with DPW about yard maintenance and pest control. On the communication front, we are working to provide the content for a web page on the city's website. We would like the community to know more about what's going on at the house and why they can't get in it at this point in time, because I know that that's a discussion that's going on out there. We'd like to address it. We've also started with Sue's help, Mansion Minutes, which will be snippets of information that will be shared on the city's social media platforms twice a month, so that we can continue to engage the public on what's going on at the mansion. We have a draft logo. We thought it was important to kind of brand ourselves so that we have, when we do communicate, that people know where it's coming from. And the next step will be to create a subcommittee that will manage all of these projects and ongoing communication projects. As you know, we have a wonderful opportunity to do a test case of an event at the property. Jazz in the Park will be July 18th. I like it because it's an experiment that we don't have to run with an established event to see how things could happen there. We've also created a fundraising and event subcommittee with the purpose of perhaps creating an event the night before the Jazz in the Park that would be a fundraising event to raise money to make the house ADA compliant. I think that it's important that we try to make the house accessible as soon as we can. We still have not approved the budget for this, and the work group has not signed off on this event. There are a lot of details that need to kind of come together, and we're working on that as fast as we can because the event is coming at us as fast as it is. Finally, Eastern Michigan University is conducting classes at the house, as you know. The curatorial seminar completed their work last week. They were able to photograph and inventory 1,100 items. The instructor plus the students who did this activity contributed 162 hours. That's a huge contribution to the city of Saline because we would have never accomplished that on our own. The adaptive use of historic places class plans a presentation this Saturday on their suggestions. I don't have a time exactly yet set for that, but it is Saturday. The documenting and recording historic places class is continuing, and there may be in May a possible archival seminar. There's a scope of work for that, which you guys will all have to, the city will work out with us. So those are the things that we have accomplished so far. I would entertain any of your questions on our activities.
Very good. That was very thorough and quite detailed, Chairperson Schneider. One quick question for you. Remind me, the framework that Diana Wong presented for strategic planning indicated about a 90-day period to do research, visits, and evaluation of comparable facilities, properties in the state and regions. Am I correct? It was about 90 days? So it means we'll regroup and be able to debrief and maybe have some thoughts and recommendations to share by that update in August, because that 90-day window would take us out to about the first or second week in July. So I think some important work will be done in the next 90 days. And again, to the point I just made, I suspect there'll be something very tangible for you all to digest when Chairperson Schneider comes back with her colleagues to give a mid-year update in August. Council members Gearbaugh, Del Orco, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I appreciate Rebecca's summary, and I think that really much tells what we've been doing. The group's been very busy, so we're looking forward to completing this task from.
Very good. Councilmember Del Orco?
Yeah, you did an excellent job of presenting what we've been up to, a very thorough report. We have been busy, and it's really about to get going once we get the strategic planning launched and the visits over the various properties and over the summer months. So I'm looking forward to that.
Very good. Mr. Pollington, Ms. Kelch, anything you'd like to add? No? Okay. Okay, how about questions? We'll start at the end of the day, so I'll work my way from the right to left. Councilmember Hulsh, any questions for Chairperson Schneider?
Yeah, just one. So what is the fundraising goal or target for this fundraising event the night before?
The dollar amount?
Yeah.
We don't really know yet because we also don't know. I mean, we talk about raising enough money to get a lift or a ramp, but we don't honestly know what that would cost. We need to talk to some experts in adaptive ADA structures on historic homes, because I don't want anything to go on this house that is unsightly or inappropriate. So we've talked, Molly Coy is the chair of that committee, and she's kind of thrown out $30,000 is what she'd like to raise. She's doing a lot of foundation work. This is not all just ticket sales.
And so are you expecting this to be an ongoing fundraiser, or do you expect to hit that number at that event?
We'd like to hit that number at this event.
At this event, and then
We'd like to also have a public event later in the summer that would be free and open to everybody.
so this event would be more of an exclusive invite-only event. Okay. My other question is, I can understand as far as, you know, some operations, like subsidizing operations, through some fundraising, but I guess my pause is when we were thinking about the deliberations and when we were specifically running through the numbers, we had accounted for initial ADA costs. So I guess it's a little bit new to me to hear that fundraising for the ADA is a part of it. And so I guess, are there other elements or are there other parts of the potential strategic plan that you foresee fundraising for?
Well, if we have an event later in the summer that's free for the public, we would need to cover the costs of that event. If we do an ice cream social, for example, we don't need a ton of money while we still don't know what it is that we're doing with the house.
Okay.
But I do feel very strongly that since the community bought the house, that they should be able to get in it. Because I think right now the perception is that some people can get in it.
And do you think that, I guess, that event the night before is going to help that perception?
I think that if it is put together in a way that says that the people who are at that event are paying money to make it possible for everybody to get in, that it does change it a little bit, in addition to the fact that the event the next day is free and open to the public.
Okay. Thank you.
I would just clarify or correct one thing for the record. I don't know that I would define or describe the event prior to Jazz in the Park as invitation only. That strikes me as a bit exclusive. It's open to the public. It will just come at a cost. You have to pay for a ticket, but anybody is welcome to attend.
Absolutely.
Mr. DeLorco, anything else you'd like to add?
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay, Councilmember Dillon.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the update. It does sound like you've been very productive in that short amount of time. Just sort of going back to, you had mentioned that you had ordered some signs. We had an issue come about where understanding whether or not we were going to invite the public onto the property at this time. Has the committee made a decision on that? Has the city made a decision?
We had a request for people to come on the property that was before our group at the last meeting, and we decided because the security measures are not completely in place and the cameras are not completely in place, that we would not want the property to be open at this time.
So that was sort of, and that was leading into, you had mentioned that you had ordered signs. So will there be like temporary no trespassing signs that, park is closed to the public?
Yeah, I don't think we called it a park because we haven't decided that it's a park, but we did say it's temporarily closed.
Okay, and will that then be communicated out to the public, the community at large? Because right now, I've noticed that people just sort of walk by and they just sort of kind of meander a little bit, and I think curiosity is a big part of it. And so I just want to make sure that the property remains safe, that people remain safe that are on the property. My other question is, when you start talking about fundraising and grants, money, things like that, a big piece to that is nonprofit status. Yeah. Will this group become its own nonprofit? Are you utilizing another nonprofit?
It is possible that this group could apply to be a nonprofit. For this event, the Saline Main Street Board will meet tomorrow night and decide whether or not they want to be the fiduciary for this event. It would require Saline Main Street to receive the funds, pay out the funds for the event, and also apply for a liquor license. So that is a decision that the board will have to make, and I will abstain from participating in that vote as I'm on that board. So there is also You know, the Historical Society has a 501c3. And I don't think that organization wants to carry that burden, but at some point, it might be interesting to explore that because the other homes that the city owns are under that 501c3. So there are people on my work group who think that that's where things belong. We can be a separate 501c3 if that makes more sense. We're open to that for sure.
I just know that it opens more opportunities for funding sources being a nonprofit.
Absolutely, it does. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dillon. Councilmember Gearbaugh, anything you'd like to add?
Not at this time.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Rice?
Do you have a timeline for the temporary, like, do not trespass situation?
I don't have a timeline. I would file getting the security in place at the house along with administrative tasks under things that take longer than you ever imagined they will.
Yeah.
So,
does the city manager or Mr. Shonk have any opinion on how long that might be so that we can communicate that with the public? Because that question's already come up. Why can't we wander the grounds and look at things?
Right. And again, I think it'll be collaboration between the working group and the city to understand, what the timeline they would like, but also, so we've already got some temporary cameras in place, and we're looking at, longer term, what would that require, costs for more robust security system, things of that nature. So I don't have a time frame. We are obviously the city will be ordering the signs, just indicating it's closed until all those measures are in place.
I think it's fair, reasonable to expect, Mayor Pro Tem Rice, if I may, that we would be able to provide a more concrete and specific answer to your question at either our subsequent meeting in April or our first council meeting in May.
Perfect. Yeah, that would be really helpful. Just, folks wander around the depot and things like that. I know we're a little apples to oranges when we talk about, like, monetary value of things. That mansion obviously is monetarily worth a lot more, but when we talk about historical assets and community assets in the city of Saline, it's kind of hard to have that conversation without just kind of saying, everybody just wait, just hold on. We kind of keep saying that, but I understand it.
Unfortunately, we have the security cameras and everything in place at the depot and at the farm museum, so getting that at the mansion makes it even more a concern at this point. That's the reason why I think we all strongly feel that it needs to wait until we can assure that those security needs are in place.
Yeah, that makes sense. But as long as that's what we're waiting for, it's not going to be off the grounds until we have a plan in place. It's more just making sure everything's secure and cool. My next question, this is more for the city manager, is I think at least quarterly or maybe when we get these updates, having more of a sense of money being spent, staff time, budget, things like that, just so that we can, I know that this group is going to be very thoughtful about, Rebecca mentioned raising money to host an ice cream social, but there's all those things that start to add up, right? So I think it'd be really helpful just for us to get just a clean snapshot periodically that we can kind of see where we are with things.
In addition to that, we did establish a separate budget category for the Davenport-Curtiss house, so you'll be able to see that, and we can run those reports as needed. I have talked with the city treasurer, finance director also about tracking some of our staff time and some other ancillary expenses that may not be captured in that budget. So yes, we will have the ability to provide some updates on that.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, thanks for this update. It's timely and very helpful as a council member to be able to talk educated about what's going on over there. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rice. Councilmember Harmon, any questions for our guest?
Thanks so much. Good update. I appreciate it. So just a couple questions, and I know that we have legal counsel here. Do we have all the, if I can say this right, identifications in place as far as making sure that we don't have leave ourselves legally liable for having a public event on this property?
I can add to that as well, if I may. So just, we have reached out to our insurance carrier is probably the biggest thing. So through Michigan Municipal League, and we've added the house as well as liability coverage there. So I think we're good as far as overall. I will double check because I did have that same question with just the liquor license and things to make sure we're covered for that additional activity on the site. So we'll have that verified. But yeah, from an insurance standpoint, our carrier is well aware of the property and how it's being used to date.
City Manager Swallow, can you confirm as well, there was a bit of a delay, but the revised event application for Jazz in the Park, including layout and other specifics pertaining to that event, will be an enumerated action item at the next council meeting in 2 weeks?
That's correct. We just wanted to verify some of the parking concerns because that came up. So the group has been working on that aspect and has been submitting information to the city clerk. So that should be on our next meeting.
Very good. Please continue, Councilmember Harmon.
Yes, and then I do believe, like, if we just, to reiterate, the scope of the subcommittee or the working group is to find a path forward that it's self-sustaining, either to keep or not keep. So if we're adding physical, for changing the property physically, is that down the road gonna, if we can't be self-sustaining by owning it, is that gonna impact the resale value if we do choose to move in a different direction with protecting the house and then putting it on the market?
It is not my intention to change the structure of the house in any way.
Okay, so
If we have talked about having a lift that could roll up to the house when we need to use it and roll away when we don't.
Would the group be amenable to having the Historic District Commission review any of the physical changes that are being made and treat it like it is part of a historic district? Because that's kind of what we were intending for this house.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Anything else you'd like to add for the record this evening? Well, thank you. Yeah, I guess it's also a question for Chairwoman Schneider.
Other than that, the event budget does have space for event insurance, which we do know we need to have. So that was it.
Excellent. Well, we appreciate your time. We know we'll be hearing more from you in the coming months. Keep up the great work. Same to Brett and Sue and all the members of the committee. And we look forward to seeing you bright and early Wednesday morning for our 5th working group meeting.
We'll be there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. You're welcome to stay for the duration of our meeting, but I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say you're probably going to depart and enjoy the Michigan game. Go Blue. All right. Well, we'll transition now to the consent agenda. The following consent agenda is, of course, normally adopted without discussion. However, at the request of a citizen or council member, an item can be removed. And I believe Mayor Pro Tem Rice had one item she wanted to have removed, and then I'm happy to entertain thoughts from other council members if you'd like to see other items struck as well. Mayor Pro Tem Rice, what was the issue? Remind us of the item you wanted removed.
2662 bylaws for Davenport-Curtiss House Working Group, just one small thing.
Okay. If there are no additional changes to the consent, yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to remove 2658, Day of Silence resolution.
Okay.
And I would like to remove 2659, Earth Day resolution.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Rice, can I be so bold as to ask you to consider a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended, noting those 3 items that have been struck?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, been moved by Rice to approve the consent agenda as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dillon. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. We'll come to those items in just a moment when we transition to new business. But first up, we have 26-36 City Hall Grinder Pump Award. This will be a motion to acknowledge the receipt of the memo from City Engineer Humphreys and to award or not to award the City of Saline sewer reconstruction contract to Comprehensive Contracting LLC in the amount of $70,001 and to authorize, not authorize the mayor to execute the necessary documents. Is there a motion?
Move to acknowledge.
Moved by Rice simply to acknowledge. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dillon. Engineer Humphreys, are you taking the lead on this one? I actually failed to acknowledge our DPS director is also here this evening. We welcome you to your inaugural meeting in your new role. Who would like to kick this off? City Manager, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As Council is aware, this item was basically tabled at our last meeting for just a discussion on ensuring that the contractor understood the terms of the bid, the details of the bid package, and had accurately bid the project. So with that, staff has been in communication not only with our city engineer, OHM, but also indirectly with the comprehensive contracting. They are comfortable with the bid price relative to and are able to honor the bid price that was proposed at the $70,001. And so certainly we have represented both from the contractor and from OHM as well as Engineer Humphreys if you have additional questions at this time.
I see a representative from OHM. We appreciate your attendance. Who's representing the contractor this evening? Very good. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Anyone from staff, Engineer Humphreys or DPS Director, care to make any additional comments? No? Our guests, you care to make any comment at this time? hang tight if there are questions. Questions from the dais. Councilmember Gearbaugh.
Of course, I was the one that postponed this at the last meeting. My questions have to derive with the actual bidding process of this. Could you give a little information on that, if you would?
Make sure the green light is illuminated at the base of that microphone. I'm not sure that was on.
It appears to be.
Okay, yeah, just make sure, pull it close.
So what specifically on the?
Just how was the $70,000 amount that was derived? Because I was reading the email that indicated that that was an estimate for what this cost was, and it's interesting, the bid came in at $70,001, and the other one came in at like $250.
Yeah, so I mean, the short answer is the project was bid through BidNet, which is the system the city uses for everything. There's a opportunity in there to put an estimate of project value, and the clerk entered that because OHM felt the job was between 70 to 100,000, and we usually kind of err on the low end for that estimate to prod the contractor in the right direction. But if there's specific questions about line item bids, the contractor would have to answer those.
No, for me, it was understanding when you evaluated both bids to see, did you look at any concerns that were with the other bid because of the high dollar amount, especially for the grinder pump line item?
Yes, but really the other bid, I'm going to tell you, we've worked with the contractor that was the second bid that came in. They're a good contractor. They typically do much larger facilities jobs. They're doing a $4 million sewer plant process improvement for another one of our clients. Frankly, I feel like they put a number there, and if they got the job, they're going to do real well on it. Because this did come in line with our expectations when we designed it and did the estimate, so we don't have any concerns about the, it's unfortunate you only got two. If we would have had 4 or 5 more, I think it would have probably shown a little better, maybe, but.
Yeah, I think that was where my concern was, and just looking at that one single line item, being not understanding what the grinder pump is in its own. Is it?
Yeah, and actually all the line items, so take the traffic control, for example, they had 20, the second little bit at, I think, 28,000. There's almost no traffic control on this, so they were, like I say, they were looking, if they were successful, they were gonna have a pretty good margin on that project.
Did anybody else attend the bid pre-meeting, or was it just the one? It was a mandatory requirement of pre-bid meeting?
Yeah, no, we had, I think, 3 or 4 contractors. I'd have to check my notes to tell you exactly, but there were more than just the bids received at the meeting.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Additional questions? Councilmember Dillon?
Thank you. It's actually probably an internal question.
Please.
Will there be any interruption to City Hall use and function and availability during this project?
Yes, we'll coordinate with contractor when they actually make the final connections, if you will, and tie in the sewer system, so it has minimal impact, but it could have some operational impacts relative to, when that final connection is made. But most of the work can be done independent of that, and then they'll make the final connections with the grinder pump. So hopefully it'll be a limited period.
I can add to that too. You actually have 2 sewer leads. So even when that connection is happening, there'll be certain bathrooms that will be unavailable, but there will be other facilities in the building that you can use. But that will be a relatively short duration when that final connection.
Thank you, Mr. McNamara. And then I apologize if it's in the document, the timeline to complete this project?
I was relatively open. We just, basically the direction we got from the city was they were looking to have it done by the fall. So if council chooses to move forward with this, the next step would be then to proceed with contract execution and then get a detailed schedule from the contractor, which the city would have to approve, obviously, before any work happens. So as we move down that path, as soon as that information is available, we'll have some follow-up meetings and correspondence, both with staff and with council on the schedule. But right now, it could be any time really between now and September.
And the sewer connection will not impact any of the residential, the fire department next door, anything like that? It's just this one building? Correct. Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Additional questions, Mayor Pro Tem Rice?
I just wanted to comment that I appreciate you coming out and you answering these questions. This is just a fluke for us that there was such a disparity that we were like, let's make sure we're not doing something that might get us into trouble where we need to dish more money out or yeah. So appreciate you. I know this is probably not typical that you have to come in front of council for something like this, but I appreciate the effort.
Do you have a question, Councilmember Harmar, please?
you mentioned, why was it that we did only get the 2 bids?
The bank can't answer that. Everybody's busy right now. It's not uncommon to get less bids than maybe we did a few years ago when contractors were a little hungrier. And this is, I wouldn't say niche necessarily, but it's a little bit unique type of project. So there's only certain contractors that do this type of thing. So I think between just the market forces and that's why you're seeing some reduced responses.
Anything else, Councilmember Harmon? Councilmember Gearbaugh, before we vote?
The last thing I would ask, what type of maintenance and annual review, being that it's a grinder pump, similar to other things that we have, how often should that be investigated and reviewed? Because I know we have problems with people putting other stuff down the toilets that, like coffee stirrers and things like that, so.
Sure. Well, there is, and I couldn't recite them verbatim here offhand, but there are manufacturers' recommendations for maintenance frequency, and we'll be working closely with DPW to make sure that those are followed so you get the maximum life out of the unit. And there is, it'll get integrated into SCADA and everything else that the city does with other, pump stations for monitoring purposes.
That helps. Thank you. That piece there.
Okay, we're going to vote on the motion simply to acknowledge receipt. It's been moved by Rice, seconded by Dillon. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion carries unanimously. Is there one of my colleagues like to offer a motion to award or not to award, and to authorize or not authorize?
To award and authorize.
Ooh, I'm going to let Dillon be the mover and Mayor Pro Tem Rice be the second. Is there any additional discussion or debate on the motion to award and to authorize? Appears to be none. Thank you again. Appreciate your time tonight. All in favor of a motion to award and to authorize, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, we have 3 items that have been removed from the consent portion of the agenda. First up is 2658, Day of No Silence Resolution. This is a motion to adopt the resolution proclaiming April the 10th, 2026 as Day of No Silence in the city of Saline.
Move to approve.
It's actually to adopt. Is that okay, Mr. Gearbaugh? Moved by Gearbaugh to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Rice. You may proceed, Mr. Gearbaugh.
I just wanted to remove this as you all know, Day of Silence, or now it's called as Day of No Silence. It was recognition of the bullying and discrimination and attacks that were happening on young students of the LGBTQ plus community, and this is the 30th year of this movement. One of the things, as you'll read, the wording has changed over the years because I think in reflection of what's happening at the federal and the state levels, when you start to identify specific groups, individuals get more and more hesitant. And I think it's really clear that it's, for me, that it's important that we recognize this and continue to realize that individuals, whether they're not part of the straight or perfect world of what and some individuals feel, are still being bullied and being segregated out. And if you even saw that some of the comments and stuff that happened as a result of our recognition on Trans Visibility Day, it's clear we have very far to go. Thank you.
Appreciate the comments. Any additional comments this evening? Any debate or discussion on the motion? It's been properly moved by Gearbaugh, seconded by Rice to adopt. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously 7-0. We move on to agenda item 2659, Earth Day resolution. This will be a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted, proclaiming April the 22nd, 2026 as Earth Day in the city of Saline.
Move to adopt and approve.
Moved by Harmount to adopt. Is there a second? Second, well, like Gearbaugh be the second on that. I'll get you on the next one, Mayor Pro Tem Rice. Councilmember Harmount, do you care to make a comment?
I would. So we like to say that every day is Earth Day. April is the anniversary of Earth Day, and the city of Saline is committed to preserving its natural resources and recognize the important role its citizens play in this endeavor. And Earth Day is a time to come together and celebrate the efforts of young and old alike who strive to improve our environment for both the benefit of today and for generations to come. So Earth Day reminds us all to be good stewards of Michigan's resources, and by using our resources wisely, we help build a stronger economy and a healthier future. It is part of what our environment is part of what makes the beauty that we live in, and it's really important to protect that. So with that, I move to adopt.
Very good. Thank you for your comments. Appreciate that. Is there any additional discussion? Councilmember Harmon, or Councilmember Hulsh? Excuse me.
For Jen specifically, are there ways that members of the Saline community can get involved specifically with environmentally related activities on that day or around that day?
So I was going to hold off till the discussion period. I would like to thank you so much for bringing that up. We have been able to collaborate with the Parks and Rec, and we have a couple different events, and I'd like to talk about the calendar at the end of the meeting during the discussion time.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion or debate? It's been properly moved by Harmount, seconded by Gearbaugh to adopt the Earth Day resolution. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. The motion carries unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 26-62, bylaws for the Davenport-Curtiss House Working Group. This will be a motion to adopt the bylaws for the Davenport-Curtiss House Working Group as submitted.
Move to adopt with an amendment.
Okay, please state the amendment.
Section 5A. The last sentence after the bullet points, all grant applications seeking city matching funds or creating ongoing obligations for the city must receive prior, it currently says mayor approval. I would like for that to say city council approval.
Okay. I see no reason to object. I think that's a reasonable change. Let me first defer, I know it's proper to take a second, but council members Del Orco, Gearbaugh as liaisons to the Davenport-Curtiss Working Group, do you see any objection to that change?
No, we actually tried to catch all those, and I appreciate you catching that one. Thank you.
You're good with that, Del
Yeah,
Orco?
we went through all this just like he said, and
Okay.
we apparently missed one.
So Rice is going to be the mover to approve as amended, noting that change. Mr. Gearbaugh, would you be the second?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Councilmember Rice, Mayor Pro Tem Rice, anything else you'd like to add?
No, the rest of it looks great.
Okay. Councilmember Dillon?
Thank you. I thought we were going to actually have a little bit more discussion because there are a couple of tweaks that I do think that we need to look at where it does say in the same section in 5, section B, it says ex officio members may be delegated specific work responsibilities but shall not vote unless otherwise authorized by council. I don't think we're sort of contradicting ourselves when we say earlier that they're not voting members.
Yeah, I would just,
So-
I would strike the language that the last part of that, that's a good catch. I would strike the last part of that sentence. An ex officio is inherently a contributing but non-voting member.
Right.
So if council appoints somebody to any board, commission, committee, or working group as an ex officio, they have a voice, they can attend, but they're not part of the quorum and they don't have an official vote.
And then just for clarification, the next, under term of service, it says members shall serve 3-year terms unless removed earlier by the mayor for cause or resignation.
Should be council.
So we just need to change that to council.
Yep.
And just understanding, are they 3 one-year terms or are they 3-year terms? Because I thought,
It's a 3-year term. So when the working group was established, they were appointed to a term that will end in February 2029.
okay, because I thought, maybe I'm looking at officers, I'm sorry then, that those are 1-year terms within it, so I just wanted to clarify that. So that was, I think that was really about it.
Okay, so those 2 changes will also be made without objection. Okay. Any additional discussion or debate? We have a motion moved by Rice, seconded by Gearbaugh to adopt as amended, noting the amendments that were both offered by Mayor Pro Tem Rice and Councilmember Dillon. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. We move on to new business item 26-67. Consider proposal from Midwest Power for replacement of the air relief valves on iron filters 2 and 3. This will be a motion to acknowledge receipt and to approve or not to approve the proposal from Midwest Power to replace the air relief valves on iron filters 2 and 3 in a dollar amount of $37,555.
Move to acknowledge.
Just to acknowledge, Mr. Gearbaugh?
Right.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Dillon. I'll get you on the next one, Councilmember Del Orco. Wastewater Treatment Superintendent Briggs, would you, and Water Treatment Superintendent Briggs, would you care to make a statement? And I suspect there'll be a few questions that you'll also need to address.
Certainly. I assume that you can all remember the changing of the iron filter media 2 years ago. In that process, these valves some of them were leaking already, and we changed number 1 valves in that process. Now with number 3 being down, I did include this in the budget for this year, so it's not a surprise. But need to come for approval anyway. But with number 3 being down, now would be a good time to change those valves. And Midwest has agreed to compartmentalize or string along. When we get 3 back online, then we can do 2's valve. We don't want to do 2's right now with only 1 filter, so.
Good. Councilmember Gearbo, would you like to begin? And you're welcome to share any perspective. I'm sure the issue of iron filters more broadly has been discussed at the asset management team at least a few times in recent years. But if you have any questions for our wastewater superintendent, we'd welcome those.
Yeah, actually, I was just going to clarify. Is there any other work that we need to do on these filters? Because we know the issue that we're doing now and this. I just want to understand,
There's
you know,
none that we
economies
know
of
of
scale.
at this point,
Okay.
let's put it that way.
So there's no additional preventative things that we need to do at this point? We're basically up to date?
It doesn't, this problem we have with 3 doesn't continue with any other filters, but we really won't have any idea until it gets several years down the road.
Okay.
Additional questions? Councilmember Harmon?
Bill, I'm so sorry, I would have asked you this before, but I was out of the country. Did we get more of a breakdown on that quote, or is it just the one line item?
There's a breakdown that says all of what they're gonna do. There's several valves that are being replaced, piping that's being replaced.
But you have like cost items for each of those things? You don't just have one lump sum cost? Okay, that's all I had to ask.
No, it's good. Did I miss other questions? Oh, Councilmember Dillon, please.
Thank you. Along the same line, is there a way in which, like, are these stocked items?
The valves themselves,
The valves?
they are, I had another company give me a quote on it too, and they said that they were gonna have to wait like 6 weeks to get the valves, but Midwest says where they're getting them, they're in stock. So I guess it all depends on where you're trying to procure them from.
I know at one point back in the day, we used to talk about trying to sort of build a stockpile of shelved items so that we don't have those long down times. Is this something that we should look at buying an extra to?
Potentially. Frequently you can repair these, but because they've been in use for so long, and part of the problem again is the piping has deteriorated too. So when you start trying to do something to these, I'm afraid we're gonna spring other leaks in that piping that goes to the valves. So that's why we need to get it done
Thank you.
as quickly as possible.
Any additional questions? Thank you, Superintendent Briggs. We'll proceed with voting on the motion, which was moved by Gearbox, seconded by Dillon, simply to acknowledge receipt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion now to approve or not to approve?
Motion to approve.
I'm going to let Gearbox be the mover and Harmount be the second. Is there any additional discussion or debate on the motion to approve? Appears to be none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion is approved. Moving on to new business item 26-68, capital improvement plan for fiscal years 27 through 32. This will be a motion to acknowledge and to approve or not to approve the capital improvement plan for fiscal years 27 through 2032.
Move to acknowledge.
Moved by Dillon, simply to acknowledge. Are you comfortable seconding that, Mayor Pro Tem Rice? Okay. City Manager Swallow, I'm going to start with you. And for the public's benefit, I think it would be important to emphasize that this is a living, breathing document and subject to change, although it is a critically important a tool in our municipal tool belt to help direct and allocate resources to maintain and hopefully improve our vital infrastructure. So if you could elaborate on that as part of your comments, I would appreciate it.
Yes, thank you again, Mayor and Council. As this was the subject of our working meeting back in February, this is not, you've seen a lot of these projects already, and they've been discussed also at the Finance Subcommittee. So a lot of this has been developing over time, and as you said, is somewhat of a work in progress as we look out into future years as to what capital needs are for the city and what we can fund and look at those financing mechanisms. So with that, as has been expressed, but maybe for the benefit of the public, the CIP is really those larger, big capital projects that you need to plan for farther ahead of time, because they may have impacts not only on the budget, but also on other assets that the community owns and maintains. So for example, obviously we don't want to go in, replace a water main, tear up the street, and then repave the street, or shortly after. We want to coordinate those projects so that the work occurs hopefully consistently together and as one single project for means of efficiency as well as for cost savings. So with that, again, needs to be planned out into the future. These are larger budget items, usually $50,000 or more, with a useful life of at least 5 years. So you're not getting into smaller vehicles and smaller pieces of equipment. These are major piece of equipment, major improvements to facilities. So with that, you see before you a plan that stretches out not only the next fiscal year, but also 5 years beyond that. So it is a 6-year plan. The costs are estimated to the best of our ability as we get further out. Certainly those items that come in fiscal year 27, which is our next fiscal year, are more firm. We know we're going to move ahead with those projects. We have funding in place for most of them, or the funding is at least in process in terms of if we have to borrow or bond for those projects. So those are the firm in place projects. And then as we go further out in time, they become a little bit more it's a need. We don't necessarily have all of the details. We don't have the detailed engineering. The cost estimates are a little less firm, as well as we don't necessarily always have funding in place for them. But it is our best estimate. These are the priority projects. You've seen a lot of this already. There were a few changes since the last time, the February 23rd working meeting. We had a summary about effective asset management, summarizing the various major areas, water, sewer, for example, Saline River Dam. So we have some little additional detail there. The only other change is some dollar amounts in the Saline River Dam line item. We're not 100% sure what we're going to do in fiscal year 27, so we actually reduced that to $200,000, really to handle the maintenance items we know of and some of the engineering that will have to occur based on the final decision for that item. Also, under the rec center, there's several projects listed. We did show the funding source for that now to be grant funded because of the $2.7 million earmark that was received by the city. So those are the only dollar changes and just some additional text relative to the various items in terms of where we're at in reviewing for asset management purposes.
Very good. And as the city manager indicated, we did have a work meeting to discuss this issue more broadly in February. And if you'd like to review that material, it's of course available on the city's website via documents on demand. And the video recording of said meeting is also available on YouTube. Are there questions for the city manager regarding the presented? Looks like probably just about everyone's got some questions. Why don't I just start at the end of the dais and work my way to the left? So, Councilmember Hausch, any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a couple questions. So my first question is probably a rookie, naive question. With us having this document public and with us having, for instance, I know that the floor prior to the earmark, we included our budgets for these potential projects. Could that potentially influence the bids we get? Because they already kind of know what we potentially look to spend.
In any project, as we kind of discussed with the grinder pump, we always have an engineer's estimate. It's always been discussed as part of the budget of what we think some of these items may cost for implementation. So that's, I guess, a little bit of a disadvantage being a public entity. A lot of our information is available, and as it should be, but there's still a competitive bid process. Obviously, the contractors have to bid on it. They know they have to be the low bid in order to receive the project. So I think there's still a competitive process that protects us from that.
And thank you. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is, I think back in that working meeting, one of the things that I asked for about the CIP and then the budget is I don't see oftentimes how we plan to operationalize our strategic plan through our capital improvements. So I know for me, is it possible, or is there any way that we can tie some of these specific projects to specific outcomes and objectives from our strategic plan?
We do take a look at the strategic plan objective when we evaluate projects, and in fact, some of that's discussed in kind of the asset management aspect of how we've selected the projects that are in here, which category they fall into, whether they're essential, whether safety, whether community enhancement. So some of that does come in. Certainly, proactive asset management we know was part of the strategic plan. That's a key goal and objective. So I think that this is a living, breathing part of that. as far as the others, we could have a category where we list which goal it addresses.
That would be great.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Halsch. Councilmember DeLorco, any questions?
Yeah, just from the perspective of having worked through this document on the Finance Subcommittee, the fact that this is a living, breathing document is very important. We should be probably trying to keep an eye on this and looking for ways in which we might need to make adjustments or track progress on these various capital improvement projects. We had discussed on the Finance Subcommittee moving to a quarterly standing appointment schedule to meet. Is this something we can bring to the agenda maybe every quarter or on a semi-annual basis to kind of review the progress on the various projects and make adjustments as needed?
Yes, and as we stated, fiscal year 27, we've pretty much, those are fairly well locked in. But
Right,
as we look out in future fiscal years, we definitely want the Asset Management Committee to be part of that discussion and how projects may be adjusted in terms of budget or in terms of timing.
So it would be reviewed in both Finance Subcommittee and Asset Management?
It can be.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yes. I mean,
all right.
certainly Asset Management has the influence, I think, greater influence on what projects we select going forward.
Okay.
So, and then finance is really more towards the end as we start talking about budget and what we can afford for that, but they are linked.
Yeah, I'm also thinking particularly as more and more data starts being populated into GIS, we might have a need to reevaluate some of this.
Yes, and again, project, just because it appears in the plan doesn't guarantee it, particularly as you get further out in those fiscal years, out to that 6th year, for example.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilmember DeLorco. Councilmember Dillon, any questions?
Thank you. I had a chance to have a conversation with Mr. Swallow earlier today, and I was asking him, because we didn't get a red line version of this document, it was sort of hard to really go line by line and compare. So I asked him sort of overarching what had been changed, and the one thing is, the very first thing on it, which is the dam. And there was a reduction in the amount for 2027. What is the thought process behind that?
At this point, obviously, we don't know the specific direction as to removal or rehab, and so we looked at, when would be the first time we'd really probably engage in significant construction activities, either rehab or removal, and we realized it's not going to occur in fiscal year 27. Most of those costs will occur in fiscal year 28 and beyond, and so we lowered it to just make sure we had covered the engineering as well as some of the maintenance items that we know need to occur in fiscal year 27.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ensure. But we've been talking about this coffer dam. So where are the dollars for the coffer dam? Do we have a fund somewhere else?
Obviously, the reason we've been talking about the coffer dam is the more recent failure of the stop logs.
Right.
And that would have to occur in this fiscal year if we're going to do work on those. Most likely would occur in this fiscal year.
Okay. And then, the one thing that I will constantly say is that as we kind of keep going through this, is that we are very much underfunding sidewalk repair. We're putting in $100,000 a year. I mean, we're never going to get anywhere. So I think that we are going to need to keep looking at this document and figuring out how we are going to repair our city sidewalks. And whether that's, in collaboration with property owners, whatever it is, we definitely need to. We have talked about this for as long as I've been on council, and we've really not made progress with a definitive plan. And so I want to make sure that we do keep looking back at this. The last thing that I wanted to mention was to follow up on what Mr. Swallow had mentioned earlier, was during asset management, we did talk about, there was a proposal for a new type of spreadsheet that would assess a lot of different aspects of projects all at the same time. And so I think as that comes a little bit more clear, it's also going to bring a little bit more clarity to which projects are going to rise to the top, correct?
Yes, and we've had long discussions, obviously, asset management, also follow-up discussions with city engineer Humphreys about how we overlay the various aspects when we talk about water, sewer, roads, And, how do we know for sure that, those projects, which ones we want to combine, which ones can we do independently, and how does that priority work relative to that? So actually, the GIS is actually a tool that we think we can be able to utilize that rather than just creating a separate spreadsheet that overlaying those different projects and understanding their priorities for each one. We can do both visually, and then that can result in more of the detail about which prioritization based on which project is overlaps with others.
Okay. And then the other question I had just very quickly was that we have now taken maintenance of this building over 2 fiscal years. Don't we currently already have the bond proceeds? Is there a reason why we can't do all of the projects in 1 fiscal year?
We do have, yes, the bond proceeds, so we have the funding is in place for this building. I think the challenge is that we don't have some of the engineering or pre-planning and bidding and things that will need to be done to sequence these projects. For example, we just talked about the grinder pump. That took a fair amount of design detail in order to move forward. So there are going to be some evaluations that have to occur over basically the next fiscal year in order to then properly budget for and properly bid out for the following fiscal year 28.
I'd like to make sure that we're prioritizing that. I mean, we had that facility study done several years ago, and everything that was identified has come to fruition. And so we know we have a roadmap of what needs to be done at all of our facilities. And so I'm hoping that we can prioritize taking care of our own properties.
Thank you. Councilmember Gearbaugh, any questions?
Just a few, and a couple statements. One of the things we've always talked about, and one of the concerns has been a reconciliation of our capital improvement plan from year to year. There were a number of projects that were identified in FY26 that I don't believe we're going to get to. I'd like to know how or what those are, and were they brought forward into the future years and where that is.
Can the city manager communicate that via one of his weekly communiques?
Yes, I don't know. Okay.
Just looking for just confirm this comparison between the plan that was adopted last year and this plan.
Correct. What's added, what's dropped off, and what didn't get done for this year, because even things from 25 weren't completed. So we've got a couple of years in which things haven't happened and trying to understand where they're all falling out, just as Councilmember Dillon has just mentioned. The one other thing, and I'm surprised it's back on here, we were talking about how this page 15 report would primarily be only items that are actually funded or have funding available for it. Milcon improvements are on there where it says to be determined, having $1 million in 29 and in 30. And at this point in time, I'm not sure why it's on this sheet when it should be on the other sheet, where it's unfunded projects where we have no idea where that funding is coming from. And then the one other, and that's the only one that I see. I know there's something about the tennis courts, but the tennis court, it's $100,000. Woodland Trail, I guess it's a Wildwood Trail, whatever, but it sounds like that must have some funds already identified for it. And then the other one for me is I see where we've committed $3 million in both 2030 and 2031. That would have the appearance of, is that removal of the dam or repair of the dam?
Now, that's on the lower side estimate of what we know either removal or rehab would probably require. So we know we're going to have to spend probably close to that $6 million regardless of the selection made.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. And I think that's it for me. The only statement I would like to make is that it's obvious that, as we start to look at where we're prioritizing, it's unfortunate that we have a number of roads that are completely failed and that we don't have that situation resolved in here. And the other piece of it is just looking at where are we going to get that funding from? And as we continue to put into city enhancements and things, there are some money in our fund balance that I think could be spent to address some of our more essential needs and fixes, and that we should be looking at that in terms of modifying in the coming year. We cannot just sit on money. We need to invest and do some fixes. And I think we're going to have to evaluate that even as we look at how we move forward in doing some of the more needed repairs. But again, for me, I would like to see those two items removed for the Mill Pond Park, as we do not have that funding identified at this time.
Is there any objection to removing those? again, it's not a statement, well,
just moving
yeah,
to the
Mr.
other
Gearbox,
page.
correct me if I'm wrong, it's not a statement of whether it's not a valuable project or not, it's just a simple reflection. We don't have the funds identified or secured yet to proceed with those improvements. Okay, that change can be made without objection. Mayor Pro Tem Rice, any questions for City Manager, I was going to say O'Toole, excuse me, Swallow?
No questions. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Harmount?
Yeah, so, you know, the big question is, are we budgeting for what the needs are? And, you know, I noticed, I do want to second what Councilmember Hall said, is that want to make sure that we're circling back and if we're investing in things like community enhancement, are those funds going to what we expect them to do as far as enhancing the community? So that would be the one thing that I would say is for the future, is to make sure that we are circling back around and making sure that we're adjusting for that.
Very good. The only thing I would add is I would actually echo a comment that was just articulated by Councilmember Gearbaugh, and that it is perfectly appropriate, reasonable, and in alignment with our policy to use fund balance dollars, excessive fund balance dollars, on critical infrastructure. In fact, if you read the policy, it states very clearly that additional dollars should be allocated and prioritized to legacy costs, debt, and infrastructure, essential services, roads, et cetera. So I'm in agreement. If we do have additional funds, I'd like to see them earmarked and allocated specifically to improve our major and local streets. And I think that would, I think that statement reflects the broad consensus in the community, which is if you have additional dollars, invest them in the critical needs and the basic services that we all rely on.
We did have discussion certainly with the Davenport-Curtiss house of unassigning fund balance, because we are right now at our minimum unassigned fund balance, so we can take a closer look at those assigned balances, and if you want to unassign them for other projects, certainly council has that authority.
Great. Okay, any questions quickly before we vote on the motion to acknowledge?
Thank you. I just want to go back to the write-up on the dam, and that right now they're talking about in fiscal year 26 that we're generating renderings of the river/park post-removal. Why are we spending dollars doing that at this point when we do not have a plan as to what we were going to be doing?
I think that bullet point is outdated. That was what we're working on in the current fiscal.
Done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are already completed.
So it should be removed?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Be removed without objection.
That's already completed.
Okay. Making sure there's not further dollars being spent. Thank you.
All right, there's a motion on the floor moved by Dillon, seconded by Rice to acknowledge. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion now to approve it or not to approve?
Move to approve.
Moved to approve by Gearbaugh. Was that seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Rice? Thank you. Any additional discussion?
Just remember that change that.
Yep, so those changes, two changes are been noted, one by Mr. Gearbaugh and one brought forward by Councilmember Dillon. Mayor Pro Tem Rice, did you have a comment before we vote?
Yeah, quick comment. I just wanted to acknowledge the thoughtfulness behind how this document is put together. I think it's very forward-facing to our community. I think this document's actually better for our community than it even is for us, because we can get down into the nitty-gritty, but when I want to talk about something with the community, I can guide them to this and very quickly show them where they can get the information. And I don't think we've had that much substance before that we can share with the community. It's more just like whatever comes out of my mouth, and that's not what they should be hearing. They should be hearing what's really happening. So I appreciate the thoughtfulness behind this document.
Very good. If there's no additional discussion, there is a motion moved by Gearbaugh, seconded by Rice to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously 7-0. Last business item is 26-70, relief of sewer charges, Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Let's start with a simple motion to acknowledge receipt. Moved by Gearbaugh. Is there a second? Seconded by Del Orco. Who would like to begin, the city treasurer or city manager?
I can start.
You start?
Obviously, the detailed work has been completed by the treasurer's office, so thank you to them for that. But with this is in accordance with our current policy. I know there's been some discussion about updating the sewer leak policy, water leak policy, and making sure it fits. But this does meet current policy requirements. I think the evidence is fairly clear as you look at the billing history, that they clearly had a leak far exceeds what they traditionally use on a month-to-month or quarterly basis. And so with that, it is clear that they had a leak. It was outside the building. They finally discovered it. And looking at the billing records, the treasurer's office has put together a fairly detailed account of, what their average use is, what the increased use was for the consumption period. It does cross over 2 quarterly billing periods, so there was a calculation for that, but it is based on recorded use both before and after the incident, that clearly showing they had a leak. And then also, this is only crediting the sewer, so they're still paying for the water that was, consumed at the site. Unfortunately, it did leak out, obviously, but it is only crediting them for the sewer in the total amount here, obviously, of $8,730.52. And if there's questions about, how the treasurer's office went through that calculation, certainly Treasurer Finch is here to help explain that.
Treasurer Finch, there may be questions that are best addressed by you, but are there any statements that you'd like to add at this time?
No, I've seen that.
Okay, if there are questions that are best addressed by you, if you please come up to the podium and use the microphone, that would be great. Are there questions for city staff? Mayor Pro Tem Rice, and then I'll jump to Councilmember Dillon.
I see here that it says the city did not receive the formal adjustment request until 2025, but we're still, a few months into this year. What was the month? Do you know offhand?
When they received the notice?
When the city received the notice for the request? Okay. I'm just curious, this seemingly took a very long time, and it's a request, a couple of years away. So I'm just curious as to
It did take
why.
some time. There's also limited resources at play here with getting the work completed and the repair made by the time they discovered it and got the information to us. So we've done the best we can to assist them with gathering the information. It's just been a timely process.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I think, rightfully so. There's a lot of parts and pieces to this. My hope was not that it sat somewhere for a while because, nonprofit entities, and wanting to make sure that we're treating all of our customers equitably in the community. So
No, we've done the best we can to move it through as quickly as possible and get them a resolution.
I figured as much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Rice. Councilmember Dillon.
Thank you. So just following up on that, so this was a water leak that happened in 2024. So this was a year and a half ago.
Yes.
Just sort of understanding, so have they had an outstanding balance for a year and a half?
They do currently have an outstanding balance, yes.
And so the city should have seen the difference. I mean, we're talking about 630,000 gallons of water. I mean, somebody had to have noticed this over the course of these bills.
My Treasury Services Coordinator does monitor irregular usage reports every quarter when she processes bills, but she is also human and can't catch every single thing. So once this was noted, we were in contact with the church to get it resolved.
And so one of the conversations we've had in the past is, and I will be the first to tell you that every month I get a ding from my water advisor. They're not, that was something that we've talked about, that the community needs to have their own side of responsibility for this. So did they not know that they were having huge consumption of water? Was it not, it shouldn't just be on the city to notify them. That's the whole thing with the water meters. It should notify them directly.
Exactly. They did not have it prior to this, but one of the requirements of being eligible for the sewer credit is that you enroll in the My Water Advisor. So they are now part of that program.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I agree with you. There is a level of responsibility on both sides. However, we can only encourage so much to partake in that program.
Right. And so, so was this completely underwater? And this may be more DPW than for you. So did no one see that there were 630,000 gallons of water?
Please.
I may be able to help, and I just would need to ask a question, but it would seem to me that this leak was before the meter. And if the leak was occurring before it made it to the meter, then Treasury nor DPW or the water treatment plant, maybe the water treatment plant would be able to perhaps pick up on this, but it is a smaller amount over a long period of time. But if we're just relying on the customer to notice this, or for Treasury, if it didn't actually make it through the meter, we would have no indication that there was a leak going on.
How would they be billed for that amount if it didn't get metered?
Okay,
The
so
biggest piece
This
would
one
be,
definitely was after the
Yeah,
meter.
yeah,
It was,
yeah. Your point is well taken, not particularly applicable in this situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
it was completely underground is the issue, visible.
Councilmember Dillon, please continue if you
No,
have
thank you
additional.
very much. I think is just a reminder that maybe we need to do a little bit more, public service notification to people about my water advisor and such, and the use of it. And I know this has been our longstanding policy. If it is going into the ground, we do generally issue credits for it. And it's just, there were just a couple of weird things here. The timing of it and the sheer volume of water was just my concern.
Additional questions from the dais, Councilmember Hulsh?
I guess my question would be, knowing what's happening, particularly with the hot tub at the rec center, is this potentially the same situation where you have a bunch of water that's leaked under the hot tub? Could this potentially be something that the rec center may have to do due to the leak?
Short answer is, yeah, the rec center pays its own water bills. And so if the leak water that occurred there, the city has had to pay for. And I'd have to take a close look at, I don't know that we qualify to a credit at that point, but we could look at that again. And I guess just to keep in mind that this leak also occurred over, 5 to 6 months. And so it was a relatively small amount, even though, it doesn't seem like, the small leak would add up to this amount over time. If it's 24/7, it adds up quite a bit, even though it wouldn't be visible.
And so is there, I guess I would throw out, is there a way potentially that we can incentivize? Like, I understand, we would want everyone in the city to sign up. I need to sign up for it because I know I have a leak. But is there potentially some kind of way to incentivize people within the city to sign up for it?
I think this would be a good example of it.
Well, yeah, I would hope. Like, I'm definitely gonna sign up when I get home.
I think to Councilmember Dillon's point, I think we need to do more outreach and proactive communication about the benefits from both a private citizen perspective and a business perspective of signing up for this free tool. You may recall, I believe it was early last year, that under the leadership of then acting city manager L. Cole, we had our friends at Zippy's Car Wash, Corey Weaver, actually host a video on this subject, and he talked about from his business perspective how advantageous it was. I think that was great. I think we should do another video, and actually this came up at our agenda prep meeting of maybe engaging our friends at American Soy to also do some messaging on water quality, because that's still a sort of a false narrative that gets out there, and the numbers of complaints vis-a-vis brown or discolored water have declined about 90% over the last 16 months, and they're kind of ground zero based on their usage. So I think we have some ideas on how we can encourage and disseminate more information on the benefits of this particular tool. Additional questions, Councilmember Gearbaugh?
I was just going to say the incentive really is that you're going to pay for the water that you don't use. So the goal is to make sure that you don't lose the water. The other piece of it is hopefully as we look at this software, maybe there'll be enhancements that some type of AI can analyze it and assess it and be able to notify where it sees a very significant usage or something like that. We've even talked about that from the overall perspective of the entire water system, because sometimes water usage looks weird and things and you don't know exactly where it's happening. And unfortunately in this situation, even though it happened during a summer period, that's when people use a lot of water, depending on the season. If it's dry or wet, we don't know what happens on it. But I would, for one, would like to see, and I know Miley and your staff do a great job identifying it because they do reach out and contact people, is how can we utilize, because one of the things with the software, and we put these meters in, was that ability to notify and to figure out, is there a way to enhance it and be able to communicate? But people have to sign up. It's not an automatic thing that gets sent out to them, so. Thank you.
Very good. Councilmember Harmount and then Councilmember Rice, before we vote on the motion, simply to acknowledge receipt.
I just for a reminder, was there a cap on the amount that we would reimburse? It's just a one-time, right?
It is a one-time. It's a sewer-only credit. I wouldn't say that there's a maximum. Internally, we're allowed to approve up to $500. Anything beyond $500 is what has to come to council for consideration. So that cap is ultimately at your discretion.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Rice?
Just tangentially, A, Earth Day is coming up, so we can start talking about it in our Earth Day communications. And B, the less than 24 hours after I left for a trip, a 2-week trip, I received a notification on my phone that we had a potential leak and could call a neighbor, and a neighbor went over, and we just had a toilet that the thing didn't go down well enough, and it was just perpetually running. So saved me 2 weeks worth. So tangentially, sign up for it.
Also, if you're going on vacation, it's always helpful to turn off your water.
True that.
Yep, very wise. All right, we have a motion on the floor moved by Gearboss, seconded by Del Orco, simply to acknowledge receipt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, the motion carries unanimously. Is there a motion now to approve or not to approve, or move to approve by Gearboss? Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Oh,
I thought that was Del Orco.
oh, Del Orco, okay, I'll do Del Orco and get Rice on the next one. So moved by Gearboss, seconded by Del Orco to approve the sewer credit. Anything you'd like to add? Okay, any additional discussion on the motion? Okay, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries unanimously 7-0. We'll transition now to reports and other announcements, including updates from boards, commissions, committees, and task forces. Again, I'm going to start to my right and end to my left. Councilmember Hulsh, any reports, announcements, or updates from committees?
Yes, so the Youth Council is hosting its cook-off, multicultural cook-off. It's May 9th from 10 to 2 at the 109 Cultural Exchange. Another thing kind of coming out of Youth Council and something that I discussed with City Manager Swallow is there is interest in potentially one of our youth within the community serving as a youth liaison to council. I know that's a position that the school board has, and so I would love to kind of make it a larger conversation of how we can get our youth within the city involved. One of the lower hanging fruits that I think City Manager Swallow identified is maybe looking at our bylaws, particularly around committees, to see where we could potentially have some of our youth serve on those committees or be liaisons to those committees. But that's definitely something that I would love to see this body explore more. Arts and culture, we are moving forward with planning for Jazz at the Mansion. We've designed some of our marketing materials, and we are actually in the process now of securing vendors and more donors. So I think there's going to be a really, really exciting event, and there should be more coming about that soon. And then finally, just in general, I know it's kind of something that's been talked about amongst council, but I would also love to, if we could get some follow-up to our strategic planning retreat. I know that we haven't, since that retreat, had a whole lot of follow-up or conversation. So I would also like to bring that as something that hopefully we can discuss as a body to get some follow-up there.
Thank you. Councilmember Del Orco, reports or announcements, updates from boards, commissions, committees, or task forces?
None at this time. We'll have plenty next meeting.
Very good. Councilmember Dillon?
The Cable Commission actually met today, and we are working through our capital improvement plan, strategic plan. We are almost done with our inventory of assets. We are working through a lot of different things, disposal processes, and so we've got a lot going on right now, and I think we're moving in a great direction and just planning for the future.
Very good. Councilmember Gearbaugh?
Yeah, just a couple things. I distributed out to everyone the copy of the Saline Area Historical Society's annual report. Just a couple of highlights in it. This past year, we've had over 3,000 visitors at both museums. A number of things have happened. We received 2 very nice collections from longtime families, both the Layer family and the Wackenhoods, who gave us some items of things that we have not seen, pictures of the city in periods of times in the late 50s before a lot of modernization and thing happened. Also, I'd like to recognize that we lost 3 long-term members. Both Kathy and John Bauman passed in the same year, and also a former member, Lance Holland. All were instrumental in helping the society be a success and moving forward. And then also, I'd just like to make a plug for it. As we move forward, and like every other organization, a lot of our members are very busy, and we're hoping to get more new members, board members, and things that would like to participate. Our group works very well, and as earlier was mentioned tonight about all of our potential historical assets and things, it's difficult to spread a lot over a few people. So when we consider what we would like to be in the future, a lot of it involves the volunteerism and the interest of our people in our community wanting to support these types of things. And for me, it's been a very welcoming way to bring about the lifestyles and the past of our community, to share that Saline is a very moving into the future from its past and developing a lot of things that if it wasn't for what we have done in the past and making sure that we remember those things, we won't know where we want to head into the future. Also, this last week, the fire board met. Fortunately, I missed the meeting, but Mr. Swallow may be able to comment a little bit more, but we did change the articles of incorporation. There were some minor changes that were brought forward by Lodi, so hopefully these edits will be the last of the changes and we can move forward and adopt the articles as written. I do want to mention that as my colleagues, the mayor and Ms. Dillon and Mr. DeLorco, we shared a lot of time with the former supervisor that just passed away, Jan Kodak, on the fire board, and her help and recognition at this time, I think, is very much a service that she provided for more than 3 decades.
Appointed supervisor in 1996 after Erwin Frederick died and was reelected or was elected that fall. So 30 years as Lodi Township supervisor and a member of the Board of Trustees before that. A very dedicated public servant who will be missed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to mention anything about the ZBA Planning Commission training on Wednesday?
There will be a ZBA, combined ZBA and planning training related to, how to work on a ZBA board and our planning, starting at 6 o'clock for the members of both ZBA board and the planning. And then I don't know if we have a topic that we're going to discuss at planning or not. I haven't seen the agenda yet.
I don't think so. I don't think there's any action items or discussion items. I would extend an invitation. Of course, Mr. Gearbaugh and I serve as the liaisons to Planning Commission. Councilmember Dillon is on ZBA. If any other members of council would like to attend that training, we would welcome that. Just make sure that disseminate that information to the city clerk or city manager, because if we have obviously 4 or more, we would need to post it as an official council meeting.
I'm sorry, when is the training?
This coming Wednesday at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Starting a little bit early. And it's actually being conducted by Carlisle Wortman, specifically Ben Carlisle. It's been probably, oh my goodness, 7 years since we've done a planning ZBA training. It was pre-pandemic, but they do an excellent job. I think you'll find it very informative if you're able to attend. I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Rice, reports, announcements, or updates from committees or commissions?
First of all, I want to thank my colleagues for, on the consent agenda today, approving our request for finances to do an assessment of the Mill Pond leather structure. The leathers company still around. They were the original romp structure developer, if you will, back in the 80s and 90s. So really looking forward to continuing to hear their expertise on how to enhance that part, enhance that structure and give us some ideas on what else we can do around the Mill Pond playground area. And then speaking of which, the Parks Commission is really kicking it up as far as communications go. We have a new Friends of Saline Parks newsletter that can be found on the Saline Parks Commission website. We also have a new Instagram account, thanks to Mr. Shank, who has left. So we now have an Instagram account. It's Saline Parks Com, so Saline Parks Commission, Saline Parks Com. And one of our commissioners is doing a really great job just highlighting our parks and all the activities that are going on throughout the park. So keep an eye on that this summer, especially as the construction begins in Mill Pond. We're really going to be highlighting other parks and other ways that folks can get involved in the parks and get some contributions from members of the community. And there's lots of fun activities. There's different parks are hosting story time, things like that. So keep an eye out on those communications and spread the word. I attended, along with Councilmember Harma, Representative Foreman's Women's Health Forum a couple of Fridays ago, and it was really great, kind of initial step toward what we could do as a community health and wellness initiative. She had invited different organizations to have tables there and talk to us about things that are available. You know, we often forget down here in Saline that there's a lot of resources available and we're not really connected to them. So I grabbed a bunch of information, and Representative Foreman's office said that they're very interested to better understand what the city is looking to accomplish through our initiative, and she's willing to help out in any way that her office can. So I told her we would loop her in once we kind of have a plan for that group. But it was really, it was fairly well attended. We got a great conversation about women's health, especially as it pertains to nutrition and moving our bodies. So it was very helpful. So I want to thank her office for that.
Good. Thank you. Councilmember Harmount, updates, reports, announcements from committees or commissions?
Yes. Speaking of health and wellness, as well as parks, I would like to talk about the event calendar that we have for Earth Month planning. So if your calendars are out, April 18th, which is next Saturday, get your walking shoes on. We have Nature Walk at Salt Springs Park at 10 a.m. And then the following Saturday on April 25th at 10 a.m., there's going to be a park cleanup at Brecken and the Library Trail. And just to remind everybody, the 22nd of April is Earth Day. We're wrapping it up at the end of the month on April 28th, which is Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. We're partnering with the Saline Library, and we're going to be having a family-friendly film called Wild Robot, and it's going to be very exciting. So feel free to come on down. It's going to be a fun month.
Very good. Actually, a number of council members touched on some issues that I was going to address. The only additional item that I'd like to share for the public's benefit, and I posted some information on social media earlier today, but we had the pleasure of hosting the mayor of our sister city, his wife and 2 children, for dinner on Saturday at Salt Springs Brewery. The staff there did a phenomenal job. I believe he will be here actually tomorrow night for dinner at Brecken Grill for Stammtisch, and then departs for a broader trip to throughout the states and Midwest, and then we'll return to Germany, I believe, sometime next week. I want to acknowledge the mayor, Eric Ballerstedt, because his tenure as the mayor of the great city of Lindenburg is coming to an end. Their terms conclude in April with new members taking office in May. So he has completed a wildly successful tenure of the great city of Lindenburg, and we wish him well in all of his future endeavors, and knows that he's going to still stay involved in civic affairs throughout the city and region. Our last item under discussion was at the request of Councilmember Gearbaugh when we conducted our agenda prep meeting last Wednesday. Just wanted to ensure that there was consensus to use the Community Development Block Grant via the Washtenaw County Urban County for a sidewalk along Maple. And I think the city manager has some additional information that he'd like to share.
Yes, just share a little bit of a refresher on how community development block grant funds can be utilized. First and foremost, they are designed to benefit areas in the community that qualify as low to moderate income. And so we have 2 areas in the city that do qualify, kind of the southwest corner and the northeast corner. As well as, in addition to those areas, you can also look at certain groups within the community that have qualification as low to moderate income groups, namely, for example, disabled individuals. So you can make ADA improvements to public facilities is another category. So with that, looking at the low to moderate income areas first, we looked at what public improvements may be needed in those areas. And so we looked at a number of projects, namely public infrastructure projects. We looked at play structures for parks that fall into there, for Davenport-Curtiss or Deft. We also looked at areas of like that is being proposed on Maple, where we have some other infrastructure needs like the sidewalk gaps. And so in some discussions with Councilor Dillon, who serves as our urban county representative, one of the things that was coming up, we had a short window of opportunity to look at these funds because of the way the urban county allocates them. And we were they're going to rotate communities who are eligible for the funding, so there's a larger pot of money available each time rather than a small allocation each year for all of the communities. So we had a relatively short period of time in discussions. We thought the sidewalk project on Maple was beneficial because it fit close to our funding allocation. Basically, we were eligible for about $114,000, so the budget was relatively close. It was a fiscal public infrastructure improvement in one of the low-mod income areas, so that was the recommendation going forward. But as we move through this, every 3 years, we'll have another opportunity to look at funding, and so maybe put a little more planning into having a list more ready to go so that council will have some more discussion if desired.
All right, so let me start. I'm sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Rice. I didn't miss anything. It was okay. No, sorry, that wasn't pejorative against the city manager. I'm just assuming that he was concluding his remarks. Mr. Gearbaugh, do you have any additional questions? And then I want to work my way through the dais to ensure that there is consensus to indeed move forward with the project as recommended by Councilmember Dillon and Swallow, or if there's a desire to move in a different direction.
My question was just to understand what our process is and how we handle this. Council should have input on and have all the alternates, I think, to be reviewed and discussed. And I appreciate all the work that's been done by both Councilmember Dillon and the city manager. It's just that as we do this and we discussed it, we didn't really evaluate all the other little projects that could be done. One of my concerns on this one was, is there a tail to doing the sidewalk on Maple, which I believe there's engineering costs and we don't know what the total potential cost. So if we start that project, it could be, another, we don't know. I'm not sure what it is. So that was my concern, is understanding that. And as we look at different projects, and even when we look at sidewalks, when companies or businesses and things do review their site plans and things, we usually make that as a requirement to put those types of sidewalks and things in place. And so not understanding where we are in that process or if those potentially could happen, how do we best utilize these funds? And so I just wanted to have a more, robust discussion and understanding what's going forward. And if this is the recommendation and council's all agreed on this, it's part of our process. So in the future, I'm hoping that we have more of a verbal or a bigger discussion on council.
Well, let me just say this, and then I'll defer to some of my colleagues. I do support moving forward and allocating these funds for the project that was previously articulated. We've noted on numerous occasions during my tenure as both a council member and mayor the gaps in our sidewalk inventory, and we ought to be making a concerted effort to rectify and resolve those. As I mentioned at our agenda prep meeting, and I think as I've mentioned publicly in the past, there was consensus from council, I believe, either back in 2021 or 2022, to have the city manager's office send a letter to all property owners in geographic regions that were deficient, that did not have sidewalks. I think to indicate two things. One was our desire to work cooperatively with them to see that a project was designed and installed properly in the ensuing years, and then also to emphasize to Mr. Gearbaugh's point that if that property or deed holder was ever seeking a revision or modification to their site plan or to repurpose the site into something different or new, that it would likely be a requirement, a stipulation of the Planning Commission that a sidewalk be installed. So just putting property owners on notice of a requirement that may be forthcoming in the future. I, for one, would still like to see that letter go out. I don't believe those letters ever did go out. And so I would like to empower the city manager to take the lead on that, to identify those properties with the appropriate staff members and to get those letters disseminated within the next 90 days. Councilmember Dillon, any additional thoughts on this matter?
Thank you. I think, as City Manager Swallow mentioned, this sort of process came fast and furious at us. It was like, hey, by the way, you guys get to be first on the list. And it was, you basically had 7 days to decide whether or not you were going to accept or decline. And if you decline, then you go into the rotation and it would be another 3 years. And I agree wholeheartedly with Mr. Gearbaugh in that in the 6 years that I've sat on this committee, we've actually never done a project utilizing these dollars. So we never had a process in place. We committed to a few different things, but because in the past you were able to bank dollars and not spend them because it was a much smaller dollar amount, we never really got to the point where we had enough money to do a project. So Mr. Swallow and I are working through that because now we know that there is a schedule. and we will get a certain dollar amount every 3 years, that we can start bringing forward projects and making a list, making a process, so that council will have definitely more time and an opportunity to provide more input.
Very good. Appreciate the perspective and your work on the committee. Councilmember Hulsh, are you comfortable moving forward with this project?
Yeah, I'm comfortable.
Okay. Councilmember Delorco?
Yes.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Rice?
Yep.
Councilmember Harmount?
Yes.
Okay. So I think there is consensus to move forward on this project, but I think to the points made by Councilmembers Gearbaugh and Dillon, a process ought to be developed, and I think you have ample time to do that, recognizing that the next rotation of funds will not occur for another 3 years. Go ahead, please.
I do want to add, though, that to Mr. Gearbaugh's point, is that we will most likely be short dollars to complete this project. And so as soon as there was a preliminary engineering meeting today, and as soon as that starts coming a little bit clearer into focus, it will come back to this body with some real dollar amounts so that we are able to adjust accordingly, because there will need to be a contribution from the city or from the property owner.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, keep us posted on that. We look forward to hearing more. If there's nothing else to be brought forward during the discussion portion of tonight's agenda, we'll proceed to the second and last public comment period. Under the Open Meetings Act, any person may come forward at this time, make comment or question the City Council. This public comment will be limited to 3 minutes per person. Those wishing to speak are requested but not required to state their name and address for the record. Please note we will not engage in a back and forth or answer questions during this public comment period.
Good evening again. Mr. Mayor, council friends, I want to continue about the Saline River Dam and Mill Pond remove or not issue. You heard what I said. I strongly believe they gotta have another bypass tunnel. That will be the cheapest, shortest. Therefore, there's no need to use any of big machines. However, there are earth movement, and also have other things need to contract companies to work with. That is first C. The other C is community. We have to really consider the community have huge amount of creativity, and we are facing this problem is wicked problem. The wicked problem is do it, damn you do, damn you don't, as the other day Jack talked about that. However, there is a solution is involved with innovation. This nation is innovative. The city should be. And what we can do is that considering the civil engineering and AI, and most important is public participation, we need open, proactive community, which is you are the leader, inspired and encouraged by your contribution, great service, and volunteerism. I volunteer to do as Dylan, long time ago, did say that. Can you present some of the simulation? Which, yes, I can do. So therefore, there's one thing which is I like to volunteer, and I hope that can give the chance to use the best tool to sit. Maybe city council, civil engineer can know better the software. Another thing is most important is that this is not just a project, it's an education. It is the practice to see our government is from the people, especially from all ages. Starting from baby boomers up to the zoomers. We're talking about X, Y, Z. How about Generation Alpha? So we have to consider later what they're gonna like or not. So therefore, as a sub-teacher, I did before. I know the people in Saline, old, young, everybody want to do something. We have to lead. In order to lead, we have to follow. Follow who? Follow the people who really love nature, love the city. So let us work together. Save, dream, and love Saline. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Are there any additional citizen comments this evening? Let me defer to the city clerk. Were there any written comments provided in advance of tonight's meeting in which the individual wanted their remarks right at this time? Easy enough. Then we will transition to a motion to convene into closed session. This will be a motion to convene into closed session pursuant to Section 8H, of the Michigan Open Meetings Act, being MCL 15.268H, to consider material exempt from discussion or disclosure by state or federal statute, specifically a written legal opinion by the city attorney that is subject to attorney-client privilege. City Council will reconvene into regular session at the conclusion of the closed session. Is there a motion to convene into closed session at 8:43?
So moved.
Moved by Dylan. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Del Orco. The clerk will please call the roll.
Councilmember Del Orco,
Yes.
Councilmember Dillon,
Yes.
Councilmember Giroux,
Yes.
Councilmember Hausch,
Yes.
Councilmember Harmel,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rice,
Yes.
Mayor Morrow.
Yes, we are convening into closed session at 8:43. I'd like to call this Saline City Council meeting back to order. Is there a motion now to reconvene into regular session at 10:32? Moved by Harmon. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Gearbach. The clerk will please call the roll.
Councilmember Del Orco,
Here?
You have to, yea or nay?
Yay.
Councilmember Dillon.
Yes.
Councilmember Guerra,
Yes.
Councilmember House,
Yes.
Councilmember Farmount,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rice. Yes. Mayor Martin.
Yes. We are reconvened into regular session, 10:33. Is there any additional business to come before Saline City Council this evening? Or additional statements or discussion items? If there are none, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn this regular meeting at 10:33.
So moved.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem Rice and seconded by Councilmember Gearbaugh. All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.